this video, we are going to learn that how to interpret the chest X-ray in a professional way. First of all, systemic approach to the chest X-ray is we will look at the projection, number 2 patient details, then technical adequacy, then obvious abnormalities, then systemic reviews of the X-ray, number 6 review areas, and then summary. First of all, coming towards the projection. Projection can be AP view and PA view. The projection of a chest X-ray can affect its appearance and interpretation. Therefore, it is important to determine which projection has been used. The two possible projections for a frontal chest X-ray are the anterior-posterior, that is AP, and the posterior-anterior, that is PA view. Somewhere on the X-ray you should see something that indicates whether it is PA or AP. The PA X-ray provides the best assessment of the thorax but requires the patient to be able to stand or sit on a stool. This is the standard projection, so if there is no annotation stating otherwise, you can assume the X-ray is PA. In figure 1, there are two chest X-rays from the same patient. Image A is a well-inspired PA chest X-ray and image B is less well but still adequately inspired AP X-ray of the same patient. And notice the dramatic effect of the projection and degree of inspiration on the apparent heart size. There are different size of the heart in different in these two different diagrams, and also note the amount of the scapula which is projected over the lungs in its projection. In this PA view, the scapula is here, and in the AP view the scapula is projected more on the lung fields. So coming towards the fig A, note the mediastinal borders of the scapula are projected over the lateral aspect of the lung, indicating that this is a PA X-ray. So the scapula is pushed away from the lung fields, so it provides more details to look on the lung parenchyma. And 8 anterior rib ends visible, indicating a well-inspired X-ray. If we count the ribs, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8. 8 anterior ribs can be calculated, and well-inspired PA X-ray allows for an accurate assessment of the heart size and cardiothoracic ratio. But on the other hand, on the AP erect chest X-ray of the same patient, the scapula are projected over more of the lungs in the AP X-rays. And if we count the ribs, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, only 6 ribs are visible anteriorly. The AP projection and relatively poor inspiratory achievement make the heart and cardiothoracic ratio appear falsely increased. AP X-rays provides a less comprehensive assessment than PA X-rays due to the effects of magnification and the position of the scapula, and they are usually only performed for hemodynamically compromised patients and those patients who cannot sit or stand due to the ill health. So if you are asked to justify why an X-ray is PA, remember that in a PA X-rays, the patient's arms are positioned in such a way that the scapula are pulled almost fully out of the lung fields. In AP X-rays, this positioning is not possible and the scapula are projected further over the lungs. Number 2, we will look after looking at the projection of the X-ray, we will look the patient details. It is important to ensure you are looking at the correct X-ray from the correct patient. The patient's details will be on the X-ray unless anonymized for the exam. Say the name, age, date of birth, and when the X-ray was taken. There is saying in the radiology that the most important X-ray is the previous one. It is always helpful to compare the current X-ray with previous X-ray and imaging to see if there has been any change in the findings. The age and gender of the patient are also useful for the helping to formulate your differential diagnosis. Number 3 is the technical quality. Check that the X-ray includes all of the thorax, both lung apices, the lateral sides of the rib cage, and the both costophonic angles. Important pathology can be missed if the entire thorax is not imaged. It is unlikely that you will be given an X-ray in the exam that does not show the entire lungs, but some parts are occasionally missed in the practice. It is important to assess RIP to look at the technical quality of the X-ray. R stands for the rotation, I for the inspiration, and P for the penetration. Rotation shows that the patient is correctly positioned while taking the X-ray. If it is not, then it can falsely present the pathological findings. For checking the rotation, we see that the head of the clavicles, medial head of the clavicles, should be equidistant from the spinous process of the vertebral bodies. If they are not, the patient is not rotated. We will see that these are the spinous process of the vertebral bodies, and here are the medial ends of the clavicle. We check the distance of both ends of the clavicles, then if they are equidistant from the spinous processes, it indicates that it is well centered X-ray. But if the position of the heads of the clavicles shows different distance, and the right side of the clavicle is more closer to the spinous process and left side is away, so it indicates that the patient is markedly rotated. Patient's rotation can give the impression of the mediastinal shift or lung pathology. Now coming towards the inspiration, PA and AP X-rays are taken in held deep inspiration. Count the ribs to assess the inspiratory effort. You should count down to the lowest rib crossing through the diaphragm. 6 anterior ribs or 10 posterior ribs indicate adequate inspiratory effort. If there are fewer ribs, that indicates an under-inspired X-ray. This may be due to the timing of the X-ray, or more frequently because the patient is unable to take and hold a deep breath. That may be due to the pain, breathing problems, or confusion. Under-inspired X-rays can cause crowding of the lung markings at the bases, incorrectly giving the impression of the consolidation or other pathology. Additionally, the heart may appear falsely enlarged. More ribs, particularly with the flattened diaphragm, indicate hyperinflation due to the airway obstruction, such as chronic obstructive airway disease. In the image A, the patient is well centered, and the image B, the patient is markedly rotated, which has resulted in apparent left lower zone consolidation. There is no consolidation in the left lower zone because these are both X-rays are of the same patient, but this is the patient with the AP view with the well inspiration, and the patient is well inspired and well centered, but in this the patient is not well centered, patient is rotated, and it has resulted in the false appearance of the consolidation in the left lower zone of the lung. And this appearance is, however, probably caused by the abnormally positioned cardiac shadow. The heart is pushed more towards the left side, and a repeat X-ray with the patient well centered should be obtained. Now coming towards the penetration. The X-ray is adequately penetrated if you can just see the vertebral bodies behind the heart. Under-penetrated means that you cannot see behind the heart, and over-penetrated means that you will be able to see the vertebral bodies very clearly. Over and under penetration can obscure or obliterate significant findings, particularly in the lungs. This is less of a problem with the advent of digital viewers which allow the X-ray windows to be manipulated. The key point is rotated, under-inspired, or under or over-penetrated X-rays can hinder accurate assessment. These technical factors must be taken into account when assessing the X-ray. Number 4 is obvious abnormalities. If you can see obvious abnormalities, say so and describe them. Describe that which lung is involved and which part of the lung is involved. If possible, say which lobe or lobes are involved. Remember, it is not always possible to determine this on an X-ray, in which case use upper, middle or lower zone to describe the abnormalities location, and CT scan can locate the abnormalities more accurately. Then comment on the size of the abnormality, shape, is it focal or diffuse, rounded or spiculated, well or poorly demarcated. Then comment on the density. Describe the density of an abnormality in relation to the normal surrounding tissue. For example, if the abnormality is in the lung, compare it to the normal lung, and if it is in the bone, then compare it with the other bones. If the abnormality is denser, that is wider than the normal tissue, you can say that there is increased opacification or density. If it is less dense than the normal tissue, that is blacker, say that there is increased lucency or reduced density. Then comment on the texture. You should assess whether the abnormality has a uniform or heterogeneous appearance. Then comment on the other features. If there is anything else in the abnormality, such as air bronchograms or fluid levels, then mention them as well. Are there other abnormalities such as volume change, bony abnormalities or surgical clips? Volume changes appears commonly in the patients of the CKD who presents with a volume overload, and the X-ray shows typical findings of the volume overload. Then coming towards the systemic review of the X-ray. A useful system for systemic review of the X-ray assessment is ABCDD. A stands for the airway, B for breathing, C for circulation, D for diaphragm or delicates. Also comment on the man-made abnormalities, for example lines, pacemakers or NG tube. First of all, A for airway. We will look in the airway that is the trachea central or it is shifted, or if it is shifted, then if it is shifted or deviated towards the abnormality or away from the abnormality, and if not, is it deviated due to the patient's rotation or pathology. Then look that if the cause is pathological and is the trachea being pulled to one side due to the volume loss such as lobar or lung collapse, or pushed away from the lesion, that is due to the increased volume such as large pleural effusion or mediastinal mass. B for breathing. Start in the apices and work down to the costophrenic angles, comparing both lungs to look for differences. Ensure that you inspect the entire lung including the apices, hyla and costophrenic angles. The left hilum should never be lower than the right. If this is the case, you must look for volume loss, either pulling the right hilum up or pulling the left hilum down. Both hyla should be of the same density and have no lumps or convex margins. Look around the edge of the lungs, assessing for the pneumothoraces. These can be particularly subtle at the lung apex. C stands for the cardiac and mediastina. Assess the heart size. Cardiomegaly is defined by the maximal transverse cardiac diameter being greater than the 50% of the maximal transverse internal thoracic diameter, that is cardiothoracic ratio. This can only be accurately assessed on a well-inspired PA X-ray due to the effects of the magnification on AP and under-inspired X-rays. However, it is still important to assess cardiac size on an AP X-ray. If it is normal on the AP, then it will be normal on the PA. Conversely, if it is grossly enlarged on the AP, it is likely to be enlarged on the PA X-ray as well. The cardiac and mediastinal borders should be clearly visible. If this is not the case, you must consider whether there is a pathology in the adjacent lung. The mediastinum and heart should be positioned over the thoracic vertebra. If this is not the case, you must first check that the patient is not rotated. Then you must assess for volume changes in the lung, either volume loss, pulling structures towards the abnormal side, or increased volume pushing them away. Counting for the position of the mediastinum and the heart. Marginal mediastinal shift can be observed if the margins of the thoracic vertebral bodies can be clearly seen beyond the cardiac and mediastinal contours on a well-centered X-ray. Widening of the mediastinum may be due to the technical factors, that is due to the AP projection, vascular structure, that is unfolding of the thoracic aorta or aortic dissection due to the masses, that is mediastinal tumors or lymph node enlargement, or hemorrhage, for example ruptured aorta. The clinical findings in such cases are important as the cause can be difficult to determine on the X-ray, and CT scan can be used if required for further assessment. The right paratracheal strip can be useful to assess if visible. It is composed of the soft tissue between the medial wall of the right lung and the right wall of the trachea. It is visible in the 50 to 60% of the X-ray and should measure less than 5 mm in diameter. If it is thickened, it is commonly due to the lymph node enlargement. The aortopulmonary window is another area to assess for the lymph node enlargement. The aortopulmonary window is located between the aortic arch and the left pulmonary artery. Here we can see the AP window, which is located between the aortic arch and the left pulmonary artery. Normally, there should be no soft tissue visible in this region, thus giving the impression of the window. If this is not the case, you must consider lymph node enlargement. You should assess the mediastinum for the presence of gas within it, that is pneumomediastinum. This appears as a linear lucencies projected over the mediastinum. These often extend into the neck and may be associated with the surgical emphysema. We can see it in the figure 4. It is important to remember that the lung continues behind the heart as well, and in fact a large portion of the left lower lobe is behind the heart. The cardiac shadow should be of uniform density. If this is not the case, you must consider whether retrocardiac pathology such as consolidation, lobar collapse or mass is present. This can be difficult to assess due to the overlying cardiac shadow. Inverting the image often makes any abnormality more obvious. For example, there is a very subtle retrocardiac mass which is very difficult to see and would be easily overlooked. If we invert the image, then we can easily see the mass behind the heart. Now coming towards the diaphragm. Both hemidiaphragms should be visible and upwardly convex. Flattening of a hemidiaphragm suggests raised intrathoracic pressure either from lung hyperextension as seen in the air trapping with COPD or tension pneumothoracis. The right hemidiaphragm is normally slightly higher than the left due to the mass effect of the adjacent liver. If this is not the case, you must consider whether one of the hemidiaphragm is being abnormally pulled or pushed down. Remember that the lung extends behind the diaphragm as well, and you need to look for the lung pathology through the hemidiaphragms. Again, inverting the image can make such pathology more obvious. Then come towards the looking for the free air under the diaphragm. This can be difficult as the gastric bubble and bowel loops can have a similar appearances. The costophrenic angles should be sharp, if not there is likely to be pleural fluid present. Here are some sample X-rays which shows that how it can be difficult to diagnose free subdiaphragmatic gas. In the image A, it is a normal chest X-ray with the gas in the stomach. We know the gas is within the stomach and it is under the left hemidiaphragm, and the soft tissue overlying the lung and the soft tissue rim overlying the gas is a few millimeter thick, as it consists of the stomach wall and adjacent diaphragm. The picture number B, image B, is contrast that appearances to the center X-ray, which shows a large pneumoperitoneum. In this case, the soft tissue rim between the lung and the abdomen is very thin, as it solely represents the diaphragm. It is a pneumoperitoneum. And image C is a mimic of free subdiaphragmatic gas. In this case, inspection of the area below the right hemidiaphragm reveals bowel markings. These appearances are due to the interposition of the loop of the bowel between the liver and the right hemidiaphragm, and is known as Chilaiditi's sign. On initial inspection, this patient appears to have free gas under the right hemidiaphragm. But on the closer inspection, it reveals bowel markings indicating that this is a loop of bowel rather than the free gas. In this image, look how thin the soft tissue layer is in this case of the pneumoperitoneum. And in this, notice that the soft tissue layer between the lung and gastric bubble is a few millimeter thick, and is the normal appearance of the gas within the stomach. This is the PA chest X-ray showing linear lucencies projected over the upper mediastinum. Their location and appearances are consistent with the pneumomediastinum, and there may also be evidence of a gas within the soft tissue as a surgical emphysema. Now coming towards the delicates, assess the bones. Look at the ribs for fracture or bone destruction. Assess the rib spaces, which should be roughly equal. Narrowing can be seen with the volume loss in the underlying lung. Review the rest of the imaged skeleton for fractures or destruction of the bone lesion. Look at the soft tissues for evidence of the surgical emphysema. If there is gas, then there will be the black areas in the soft tissues, and previous surgical clips and mastectomy can have their different findings. Lines. An endotracheal tube should have its tip proximal to the carina. Problem can arise if it is inserted too far and the tip enters one of the bronchi. This will result in the collapse of the non-ventilated lobes. The tip of the NG tube should lie well below the left hemidiaphragm in the stomach. Problems to look out for include misplacement into the lungs and the tip being within the distal esophagus. Center lines are most commonly inserted into the internal jugular veins. Their tips should be in the mid or lower superior vena cava. Complications include misplacement and the pneumothorax. This is an AP chest X-ray demonstrating satisfactory position endotracheal tube. Here is the right and tip of the right and left. This is the tip of the ET tube. This is the tip of the ET tube just above the carina. These are the tip of the right and left internal jugular lines, which are projected on the mid superior vena cava. Here is the ET tube, and here is the NG tube with its tip below the left hemidiaphragm. Now coming towards the review areas. Double check the following areas since pathology is easily overlooked at these sites on initial viewing. These are the apices of the lungs, hyla of the lungs, behind the heart, costophrenic angles, and under the diaphragm. Summary. Summarize your findings and give a differential list. Think about the history and clinical examination as well as the X-ray findings when marking your differential diagnosis. Say whether you would like to review previous imaging if you think this would help, and suggest further investigation including imaging which may be useful, and suggest a management plan for this patient. The key point in the chest X-ray is, remember, you are looking at a chest X-ray, not a lung X-ray. Ensure you assess all of the X-ray, including the soft tissues, bones such as the clavicles, scapula, and visible humeri, and the upper abdomen. Now coming towards the checklist to assess a chest X-ray. On the technical aspect, you will check the patient details, name, age, date of birth, and hospital number. Then you will look for the date of the X-ray. Then identify the projection of the X-ray. Then assess technical quality of the X-ray, that is RIP, rotation, inspiration, and penetration. Then you will look for the obvious abnormalities. Describe any obvious abnormality. Describe its site, which lung and which zone or lobe, size if relevant, shape if relevant, and density of the lesion. Then systemic review of the X-ray is done, in which we see the position of the trachea, assessment of the lungs, size and appearance of the hyla, assess for the cardiomegaly, assess cardiac and mediastinal borders and cardiophrenic angles, position and appearance of the hemidiaphragms, evidence of the pneumoperitoneum, that is free air under the diaphragm, assess the imaged skeleton, assess the imaged soft tissues for surgical emphysema, mastectomy, comment on iatrogenic abnormalities, look at review areas that are apices, hyla, behind the heart, costophenic angles, and under the diaphragm. And lastly, summarize your findings, present findings, review relevant previous imaging if appropriate, provide a differential diagnosis where appropriate, and suggest appropriate further imaging and investigation if relevant. So this was the complete method to assess the chest X-ray in a professional way.